When I experience an obstacle or challenge, I'm going to move past it. I'm going to shatter that glass ceiling and I'm going to keep going.
It hurts to smash a glass ceiling.
Wow, we literally have to be superheroes to walk through this life.
While I might have been the first, I pray that I'm not the last.
Welcome, everyone, to Taking Her Lead. We are just absolutely excited, and Janine is excited too, although she's remote right now and still on her vacation and taking time away. But we are thrilled about the guest that we will have today, Neeraja Ganesh. And just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background, as I always do on the show. So we are coming up almost on our third year, having done this for about a year and 3/4. And of course, we started off with just a podcast where we were doing the interviews with our guests, but it was just the audio. And we were on iTunes and Spotify, pardon me, to get some water, and quite a few other platforms. So I may have my 4-year-old here break in, but I'm going to keep going for just a minute, as long as I can. And we seek to elevate the voices of women and their stories and promote what they're doing, and in order to inspire others to lead and encourage other women all across the globe to lead. And we have had the most incredible guest list for these 2 years, women from all over the world who are doing a variety of types of work and in different industries. And we are just really thrilled about this. So today we have Neeraja Ganesh, and she is a proponent of women's rights in India, and works hard to bring equity to gender issues and elevate women and teach women to lead. And so we're just absolutely thrilled to have her on today. And next week we have another guest who I'm going to keep a surprise right now, but we will post who that is in just about a day. And we hope that you will comment and share this with your network and get the word out. So without further ado, I'd like to bring in Neeraja Ganesh and possibly my 4-year-old. Good morning.
Good morning, Joshua. For you, good morning. And for the rest of the world who's coming in live, good afternoon, good evening. Let's keep it good day.
Yes. Good day sounds great. How was your day?
Oh, it's been great. As I was telling you, on the days I have these kinds of events, I try to keep my day very light and, focus on the event. So it has been so far so good. Yes.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm thrilled to have you here. And I'm so excited for our viewers to listen to your story and see you talk today, and then subsequently to watch the video for those of you who can't catch this right now. So Neeraja, would you talk just a little bit about what you do, what you're passionate about, and what you're involved in currently in your career?
Sure. So let me start with my tagline. Okay. So if people are following me on LinkedIn, or if they take this opportunity to go and look me up on LinkedIn, you will see that my tagline on LinkedIn says, I am passionate about bringing a positive mindset shift in women and students with every interaction that I have with them. And an interaction like this is also that opportunity to bring about that mindset shift. So whatever comes my way, I find an opportunity to do that. So that's kind of what I would like to describe myself in terms of my passion, and hence what I do. Now, what do I do towards that? There are many things. One of the things is I do a lot of leadership development training programs. I do it for corporates, I do it for communities, and of course, through talk shows like this, or at conferences, etc. I try and bring through my experiences, because that's what I believe is different from some other programs that women may attend, students may attend, or whoever attends, because this is not research, right? I'm not looking up Google and picking up stuff and saying, hey, this is what it is. It is my personal life experiences, and I talk about my challenges and how I went about overcoming them, dealing with them, and reaching where I have reached. And
Yeah.
so I do leadership training programs. I do a lot of behavioral mindset change programs. I undertake different kinds of gender related projects, and I do a lot of writing. And Joshua, you know that my book is going to come out soon. So that's something that's
Yay.
a project along the way. I do a lot of mentoring wherever possible, because that's something I have realized, and I've done it, Joshua, in my corporate career, and after that also when I was working at an NGO, I have grown teams organically. I have not believed in bringing in people who are already there in a particular role with the experience to come and join my team. I would give the responsibilities to the juniors in my team, and I would say, you take charge. And along with responsibility, I would also give them accountability, which is very, very important. Because if you do not give them the accountability, which means the independence to do the things their way, then you're not really making them responsible. You're always like a backseat driver, right? You're not giving away the driving to them. So I have been a support whenever they have needed me. I have been there. But because of that responsibility and accountability, they have grown. And I think many of them are in positions beyond, where I have scaled in my career. And that makes me so happy. Hence, I believe a lot of mentoring and coaching is needed. And I do a lot of that.
That's fabulous. But it's very expansive. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you also
yeah.
you do some videos on LinkedIn as well. And
I do. I do a lot of writing on social media because I found it to be very, very powerful. And I will tell you why it's powerful. While I do promote, like we all use social media to promote ourselves, our events, and whatever else. But the content that we write, even to do that promotion, uh, I write it in such a way that people who read that, even if they don't go and look at the video, they have some learning out of it. And that's the reason, people kind of follow me. And there are so many others that we may follow. It's because that content is so inspiring and full of, knowledge. So I do that at every possible opportunity.
That's fabulous. Yeah. And I enjoy watching your videos and reading what you've posted, which is why I reached out initially to bring you onto the show. Just fascinated with your story. So let's dive into your story, and because that's the primary thing we want to do today. And let's start early on with learnings and situations and events that you experienced when you were younger, which helped shape your path. But before you do that, I'm going to pull in my 4-year-old because he keeps just tapping on the door real quietly. Yeah.
Hi.
Here we go. He wanted to be a part of it.
He's up this early.
Yes. He's an early riser. This is Jackie. Yeah.
Hi,
So
Neeraja.
speaking of children, yeah. Let's talk about your childhood.
So let me start. Yeah. I am an only child, right? To my parents. I don't have any siblings. So all through my life, it's just been the three of us, my mom, my dad, and me. And in the cities that we lived, so initially, for those of you who know India, I lived in Indore. It's in Madhya Pradesh, central India. I lived there for 12 years, and then I have moved to Bangalore, and the rest of my life in Bangalore. We've not had any extended family. So it's pretty much, the three of us. We had some friends, of course, but largely I was to myself. So I grew up to be a very meek, timid, shy girl. Now, no one believes that when I tell them now, but those of them who have known me from those days have seen that transformation, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So being that way, I was an introvert and a very silent observer. So a lot of my learnings have been from observing others. And I have been a great listener because of the same reasons, right? And I believe these qualities have really helped me in the kind of person and the kind of professional that I have become. And I have also developed a lot of emotional resilience as I've realized that, there's no one for me. Like it's pretty much while my parents were there, for most of what I wanted, I had to kind of figure things out all by myself. So that gives you a lot of inner strength, and in life throws a lot of challenges at you personally, professionally. And I believe that resilience that I have built over the years has helped me kind of, tackle it and move on from there. The
Yeah.
other thing that I would definitely like to say is that a lot of values that I have observed from my parents and family, and that's been very, very deep rooted.
Mm.
And so I do what I strongly believe in, and I don't just follow the crowd. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm not saying that, oh, I will do
Yeah.
what I want to. I don't care. But I'm saying because my value systems are so strong, even if it's very different to what the rest of the world is doing, I will go that way because I believe in it. I have a
Hmm.
strong belief in myself and what I'm doing, and that has really given me a lot of happiness and success. I have been able to lead a very holistic life. And maybe I'll
Hmm.
narrate a story. And Joshua, people who know me know that I always narrate stories to kind of, prove the point or make
Hmm.
it more impactful and understandable.
Hmm.
So, in growing up, we were from
That's
what
right,
is called
Jackie.
a middle class family, right? When it came to our financials, we didn't have too much money. And we always believed in the value for money. So,
Mm.
if you were to take commute, we used to, go by walk as much as we could walk. We could never afford auto rickshaws or cabs. We
Yeah.
would probably take a bus. So, when the distance was really long, otherwise, we walk. My mother used to stitch all my clothes, so that would work out more economical than going around and buying from
Hmm.
shops. And she would ensure that there was a lot of extra material folded in it so that she could keep opening up the seams as I grew taller. So those clothes would remain with me for a very long time. And
That's
she would wash
frugalist.
yeah, she washed the clothes herself. And I don't
Wow.
know how many will believe this. These clothes that I wore as a teenager have been so well preserved that my daughter, who you saw just before the show started, she's 19 now, she's also wearing these clothes. So
Wow.
it did not matter whether the clothes were fashionable or not. It's not about being frugal, but it was seeing what value you derive. So that has
Mm.
helped
Hmm.
me start saving money from my very first salary. So, my first salary in 1992 was 1,500 rupees, my first stipend. And I saved 500 rupees from there. And 1,500 was not very big money even in those days. And I was a student and, I had to kind of go to work and all of that. So I could have spent all that money. But the saving started from that very, moment. And in 3 months' time, the stipend was increased to 2,500 rupees. And I started saving 1,000 rupees instead of 500. So the
Hmm.
importance of understanding the value of everything that one possesses runs in our family, and my daughter also has taken after that. So today, we might have more money than we had in my growing up years. But the question before we buy anything or is like changing a phone or buying new clothes or bags is always what value does it bring, and this,
Hmm.
this is what has built a very authentic and unique brand for me.
What a impactful, what great parents. And I love that you pointed in a different direction from frugality, which is, just focusing on not spending because of the value of not spending, but toward the value. What values do you have? What is most important to you? Where do you want to utilize the money, and put it towards? So that has a huge impact on a lot of different things.
That's true.
Um, yeah. If you will, talk about your when you were a little older and in university, if you went to university,
Yeah.
and as you were starting your career, and pivotal moments really that changed your direction or opened your eyes to something new.
So yeah, I'm sure everyone wants to know how I changed from that meek, timid, shy girl to who I've kind of grown up into. So I think in many ways that was one of the pivotal moments. I went to work in an IT company because I did
Okay.
study software in the early 90s in India, and as across the globe, IT was booming, and so I did a computer course, and then I got
Okay.
this job.
Yeah.
And being the quiet girl that I was, I went to work 9 o'clock in the morning. I was a programmer, so I would be given the
Hmm.
specs of what I had to code. I would quietly sit and code. I wouldn't speak to anyone because I was that shy, and have lunch by myself, have my coffee all by myself, come home at 6 o'clock. This is how I led my life for 10 years in my, in the early career. I was good at my job. So, so I kind of, get promoted.
It's affirming. Yeah.
Yeah. But around the 10th year of my career, right, my manager, the team lead, had to take up an on-site assignment for 6 months. And they were looking to replace him with another person from within the team. And I'm talking about the 2000, I think it was year 2000, where leadership was defined as someone who was the most technically qualified, right? So they didn't care about other qualities. Today we talk about, what other qualities does a leader have? While technical expertise is important, but we also look at other parameters. But in those days, if you're the most technically qualified, then you become the lead. And in the 10 people in the team, I was that most technically qualified person. So they made me the team lead. Now, can you imagine this quiet girl to lead a team who were my peers? And now suddenly I'm, their manager. And we were going through a huge transformation. One was that we had got a lot of work transitioned from on-site to our team in Bangalore. So all eyes were on our team, whether we are delivering it right or not, so that they can point out if something were to go wrong. Secondly, our organization was going through what is called as a CMMI transformation. CMMI is, a certification that companies take on, which kind of evaluates the process that they have for delivery and all of that.
Is that like Six Sigma?
Yeah, something like that, you can say.
Yeah.
ISO, there are so many standards. So this was kind of the in thing those days.
Yeah.
And hence we had to follow these processes. So there was a lot of, it was not business as usual. There was enough and more, in terms of challenges. And I realized that I cannot sit quiet. I mean, this quiet girl has to speak up when the need comes. If someone is continuously pointing fingers at my team saying that you're not delivering as well as on site, I have to, prove that, no, we are doing a job, or if we are not, then there are reasons for that. So I'll give the story of, for the CMMI, each of the teams had to do a weekly assessment of how well we are following the processes. And there was a scorecard, which we used to present to the managing director of the company. Every week, he would look at the scorecard of every team to say whether we are good or bad. And when I did it the first time, I got pathetic scores because I did it very, very diligently. The questions were, are you following? Are you doing this? Yes, no. There was no not applicable or anything. So even if there was a slide, I'm not doing it, I would call it no. So my scores were very, very bad. And I went to this meeting, the first meeting with the managing director and all the other managers and team leads. And I was actually asking another team lead who did work similar to us. So, for those of you who understand, I was in a production support team. So we would not code, but we would take the calls and, kind of fix the issues. So it was very different to a traditional delivery organization. So I was talking to another team lead who was also a production support lead to say, what is your score? He had a great score. And I said, how do you kind of get it? I'm struggling to follow these processes. And he said, oh, you don't have to, just, kind of comply. So what he meant was, if there is a question, do you have coding standards? So when you code, there are certain standards to follow, right? Then we don't code. So I don't have coding standards. But for a yes or a no question, I will say no. What he did, he created some coding standards and he put it in the website and he said, I have coding standards. So he made his question yes. And I said, that's not what you do. So in that meeting, this quiet girl, because I knew I had to stand up for my team, I told the MD, we are struggling. And it would be good if you could bring in somebody from the quality assurance team to sit with our team for one day to see the kind of work we do. And then to tell us how we can follow these processes.
Yeah.
Now, nobody talks to the managing director like that. I'm like a nobody, right? The junior most team lead and everybody around the table saying, we are doing a great job. We are good. And who's this girl who's coming and saying such things? And they thought I would be thrown out of the team, if not thrown out of the organization, right? Anyway, I said what I had to say and I came out. The next day, the managing director made an announcement. Not that he's throwing me out, but he said, that he's launching something called as quality representatives. These are people from the quality assurance team who will come and sit with every team to see what work they do and then to kind of advise how you can follow.
Yeah.
And when the QR, the quality representative, came to our team, he realized that the process bank, where we have to kind of look at and follow processes, they did not cater to production support teams.
Oh,
It
interesting.
did not even
Wasn't
have the
applicable.
right processes for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just kind of, then they went about revamp the entire process bank. And this was the transformational moment, because I realized if I had not spoken up, then they would have made this realization much later on. Maybe an external evaluator could have come and would have pointed out that, hey, your process is incomplete. And just by me speaking up, it did not even benefited me, but everybody else, including the organization.
How did you? Oh, sorry. I just want to break in because this is phenomenal. Yeah. Excellent leadership. How did you find the strength to go from meekness to that level of boldness?
Right.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah. So, I have this mantra, which is, what's the worst that can happen? So
Great.
in every situation, I ask myself this question. And if the worst is something that you can deal with, you can cope with, then go for it.
Interesting.
Usually people say, what's in it for me, right? And if you feel like the what's in it for me question couldn't have given me any answer, maybe because I would have been worried I'll lose my job, and people will laugh at me or whatever. But for me, what's the worst that can happen? The worst is probably he'll remove me from the role of team lead because he feels I'm not in a position to lead this team, which is okay for me because I really want the right things to be done. So that's the mantra I always follow, and I tell people, ask the question, what's the worst that can happen? For me, if the worst ever thing is, life-threatening. If it's not life-threatening, then go for it.
I like that. Wow.
Yeah, so that was a transformational moment in my life.
That is huge. And then subsequently, I imagine, well, first of all, were you recognized more broadly for having come up with the solution?
So I don't think, I can't recollect whether there was a, recognition of that sorts, but the fact that the manager director heard me, right? And brought in this, not just for me, but for the entire organization, was a huge thing, which made me realize that you must speak up because you are there for that purpose. And when we talk about the need for gender diversity, right? Let's bring diversity, whatever kind of diversity. If you are at the table, you are there for your uniqueness. You are there for your thought processes, your perspectives, which somebody else has not thought about. And I don't have a problem. I'm not blaming them for not thinking, right? People say unconscious bias. Well, it's unconscious because they've not gone through that situation. So let's give them a free pass and allow them to understand the situation. So I was glad just because, he kind of brought in that change in the organization.
That's amazing. Wonderful. Nicely done.
Thank
I want to affirm that. Yeah. Excellent problem solving. Who has supported you? Obviously he did to a certain degree. Hello. Who has supported you along your journey?
I definitely will say my family has been a huge support because I worked nonstop for 25 years. Of course, I took a break when my daughter was born for about 10 months and then I went back to work. But 25 years nonstop in my corporate career, and then I went and, headed an NGO, then I went and worked in a college and all of that. Family has been a huge support. So I live in a joint family here. I live with my in-laws. My husband works from home. My parents also live in the same city. So there has been a huge support for, things to be done at home or done outside. And I've brought up my daughter also extremely independent and responsible. So there's a lot of delegation I've done to her from a very young age. So I have to say that overall, the family has been extremely supportive.
Wow.
And when I say supportive, I want to kind of also explain what that means. People usually think support means, okay, they do something for you, right? So here people may say, okay, fine, does your husband cook? Because, cooking is the biggest problem. Who's going to in the kitchen and
a lot of work,
right? Or something like that. So does your husband or somebody else in the family lend a helping hand? Of course, that's a huge support. I'm not denying it.
Yeah.
But I also say that if the people in your family are not stopping you from doing something. They may not come and actually do some household work to help you. But if they don't stop you from doing what you want to do, that is also huge support for me. And I believe that, my husband has been like that. Like there have been many
Yeah.
times where he thinks very differently about my career and career in general. And he wouldn't think that I should take up certain roles or, do certain things. But that's his opinion, which he expresses, as everyone has the right to express. But he
Yeah.
doesn't stop me from doing what I want to do,
Wow.
right? And that has itself has been a huge support. And when there was a need, he has kind of come in either into the kitchen or to kind of help me out of certain situations.
Yeah.
So for sure, family, definitely, there's no way out. Kind of, I cannot say. The other support has always been, I have a large network.
Hmm.
I have a very large network.
Hmm.
And whenever I have had a need, including recently, our family went through a COVID situation. It
Yeah.
was very bad times.
Yeah.
It has been these networks that have helped me, that get a hospital bed or kind of supply food or drive me around or get things done. And even professionally, plenty of opportunities that have been presented to me because of the large network. So I
Hmm.
definitely will tell people, develop a large network.
That's so, it's incredibly important. And I want to recognize your humility to look for that support, as opposed to thinking, I've got this all figured out. Um, that's so incredibly valuable. How has your approach? So this, right off the bat, when you were in that meeting and you spoke up, that is one approach. There was some conflict, right? Even internally, but definitely externally. How has your approach to conflict changed over time?
Um, so, I always look at what is the outcome that one wants. And that's my starting point for any kind of decision making or
Hmm.
conflict resolution, problem solving. And again, I'll narrate a story, a little personal, but I think people will understand and then kind of look at it in the professional scenario also. So when I was getting married, my father, came and told me this. So in India, in those days, and maybe even today, the concept of joint family exists, right? So you get married and then you go and stay with your husband's parents. So that's a joint family, and the family could be larger than that if your husband has a brother and the brother's wife and kids. But for me, it was just my husband and his parents. That was
Hmm.
joint family.
Hmm.
So my father told me this. He said, just keep this in mind that say on a Saturday evening, you and your husband decide to go for a movie, and your mother-in-law comes in and she says that no, today you need to go to the temple. Um, and he says, if the movie was just incidental, right? You had nothing else to do, and you thought, okay, let's go to the movie. Why don't you just then please your mother-in-law, go to the temple? You anyway spend the evening
Hmm.
with your husband. If you can do both, that's the best, right? But if you have to do the movie and the temple is not possible, then you just tell your mother-in-law, okay, and then you go watch the movie and come back and say you did the temple. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because we usually don't do this because our ego comes in.
Hmm.
The first response will be, who is she to tell me what I do with my husband? Right? And then either you'll fight with your husband or with the mother-in-law, and whichever way it goes, maybe you still manage to get to the movie, but the evening is really screwed up. Sorry for the words, because both of you are in a bad mood, or
Yeah.
you'll end up going to the temple or not going anywhere. Net, the evening is damaged, and maybe a few more days after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the outcome is not the movie or the temple. The outcome is you want to have a good time with your husband. Look at that outcome.
Hmm.
So that's how I've
Hmm.
kind of managed every situation, be at home or at work, to look at
Hmm.
what is the desired outcome rather than saying, oh, I think he's saying this because I'm a woman. Maybe this is a situation to put you
Interesting.
down.
Interesting.
I try to bring everyone's perspectives,
Yeah.
explaining to everyone why that outcome is so important, and can this decision, whatever conflicts we are going through, be resolved in such a way that we are all able to get that desired outcome, have a
Interesting.
win-win, and kind of walk along the same path. So that's been my way to do that.
It's a way to assume positive intent,
Right.
and prioritize relationships.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing that. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal leadership. Yeah. What a learning. And I imagine you incorporate that perspective in your teachings.
Right, very true. That's right. And that's why I said I don't follow the crowd.
No,
People might just
no.
talk about so many other methods of conflict resolution. I say no. It's very
Yeah.
simple. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's the outcome. Simple.
Yeah. I want to recognize again your humility and approach to communications. Hey, you. And just how powerful that is, to involve and include and engage the people around you. And so on that topic, you just mentioned it can take out the component of feeling like, well, is he saying it because I'm a woman?
Right.
And does he have malintent? Have you nonetheless experienced issues and pushback because you're a woman?
So I would say it's a standard list. People will give you the same list, and maybe I've also gone through the same list, saying that either you're very aggressive. Oh, I've been told I've been aggressive. Because if women speak up, then they're called aggressive. If men speak up, they're called assertive.
Yeah.
Or there are, those stereotypes to say that, hey, she is a woman and hence she may not be able to do late hours. She will not travel.
Interesting.
All of that. I've gone through all of that. I'm not denying it. But the recommendation that I have, which is what I write and which is what my book is also going to talk about. So my book, which hopefully will come out in the mid of September, I've titled it You Have Arrived. No glass ceilings, no broken rungs, no glass cliffs. That's the tagline for the book. So I'm not talking about, okay, how does a woman, build assertive communication. I'm not talking about how do you manage corporate politics or none of that, which is important. It is important, and I'm not denying it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it comes from the inner mindset. And that's what I'm, trying to talk about in the book. So let's take an example. Let's talk about an example where people say women are not given opportunities. Men are given more opportunities. Women are not even considered. My question to women is, why don't you go and grab those opportunities, or better still, create your own opportunities? Now, how do you grab those opportunities? So, do you network? Do you create your visibility? Do you create your own personal brand? Do you speak up about your accomplishments, and do you even pitch yourselves? These are some of the things that we don't know. Maybe men also don't, but largely I think it's women who kind of shy away. My work should just get recognized. I'm not going to talk about it. And let me give you a story here. I'll bring my daughter's story here, right? So my daughter is 19. She's in a college. She's doing her second year uni. And this is the time when they look out for a lot of learnings, additional learnings, internships, and all of that. So she had applied for a 10-week program leading to a lot of learning and possibly an internship. And maybe if the student does well, then hopefully a placement in the organization later. And there were lots and lots of applications, and her name did not come out in the final selection. And the feedback that was given was that they were looking for more senior students. So maybe those who are doing masters, because it's those students who will complete it and then probably can be placed and things like that. But the organization allowed for an interaction with all these students who had applied, and to kind of tell them, what was the process and why, probably some of the students didn't make it. Now, she and a couple of other people used that opportunity, because you had the leaders from the organization speaking to you. Use that opportunity to talk about what they had done, even if they are more junior, they've only 1 year of college experience and maybe another 4 years to go before you postgraduate and finish up, what they've already done in all these years, and how their leadership capability is, or their learning aptitude is, their passion for this kind of a role, and their potential. And I'll tell you, her name got added to the list after that meeting.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
right. Oh my goodness.
So I'm saying, can you create your own opportunities?
Why do you think women hesitate? What's going on internally?
I think one of the things is about they want to be 100% perfect or 120% perfect before they even put up their hands. So the self-doubt which goes in, even when they're 100% perfect, to say that, okay, I'm not yet ready. That's one thing. You can never be 100% ready, especially, with the kind of roles that are coming up now. And if you're going to, and the man will put his hand up if he's 50% ready. That's statistics,
Yeah.
right? That's the research
Yeah.
that is telling us. And maybe he thinks he's 100%, or maybe he knows it's 50, but he'll still say he's 100%.
Doesn't care.
And he
Yeah.
puts his hand. But this
Yeah.
woman will want to be 100%. So she'll say, okay, this is the gap. Let me go fill in that gap. And in the time that lapses in filling up the gap, that opportunity is already passed by to another man or woman. And then you look at another role, and again you have a gap. So you're always, trying to catch up. There's that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome inside you. Maybe I'm not yet
Interesting.
ready. So in this case, my daughter, could have thought, oh my God, I don't know. There's so many other things that I will learn in the next 4 years, and hence probably, I am not yet there. But she decided to speak up about what she believes in and what she brings to the table. And it's for the other person to assess it. And, what's the worst that can happen, right?
I love it.
That's one. The second is about minimalizing your accomplishments, being, very modest. Yeah, yes, I'm not saying, but you have to brag in a way that it's not looking as if you're bragging. And hence, I always tell storytelling is a beautiful tool to communicate and to kind of build your own personal brand. Because in the context, when you are narrating a story, it doesn't look as you're bragging. You're just kind of helping the situation by bringing in a story from your experience and saying that, hey, I've done that, and this is the way I did it. So it kind of adds that weightage, and you might get considered. So it's a lot of self-doubt, the imposter syndrome. I don't want to talk about myself. My work should speak for itself, and all of that, which kind of puts them on the back end.
Self-advocacy.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
important, very important, because look at the amount of supply which is there, right? The demand for roles is limited.
Yeah.
And the supply is humongous, whichever audience you take, whether it is women, whether it is women on a career break, whether it is freshers.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, when I was working at Capgemini, in India, I think we were about 100,000, employees in Capgemini. Wow. And they wanted to hire freshers. So they had done their bit of campus hiring, but they wanted some more, and they asked the employees to refer fresh graduates. On day one, they got 50,000 applications, 50,000 applications.
Wow.
They closed it on day one itself. Now look at that. Of course, we are large companies, but despite that, despite there being placements in campus, there are a number of students who have either not got placed, because of which the CVs came through referrals, or they're not happy with the placements. So that's the kind of supply that is there. Now, how do I evaluate from the 50,000, even if I wanted to hire 1,000? What is the differentiator, right? Every CV looks the same. This college, that uni, this course, this CPA, or whatever. So how do you build in that differentiator both in your CV, on your LinkedIn, in your elevator pitch? It's so important. It is you. Nobody else is going to do the job for you.
I want to sit through one of your classes. I think I need that. That sounds great. What are some things, what are some skills and capacities, qualities that you believe women uniquely bring to leadership and to influence?
I think there's a lot of genuineness, right? You do it not, as I said, compliance or tick in the box. You do it because you really think it is needed. So that's the story of networking also, right? How men network and how women network. Men are supposed to be good at networking, and women are not supposed to be good at networking. And I read this, right? There was this man who walked into the restaurant, and he said hi to everyone sitting at every table.
Yeah.
Right. And then the woman who came into the restaurant or to the conference, whichever way, kind of only said hi to a select few.
Mm-hmm.
So who's a better networker? Is it the man because he kind of, gelled with everyone and said a hi, or the woman? But networking is, building that strong and long-term relationship, and you kind of nurture that relationship. So it's
Yeah.
not the numbers.
Yeah.
It's that, right? So women really genuinely believe in understanding the problem and empathizing with the other person. So today it is all, emotional quotient is what we speak about, leadership, with EQ.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
of course, men also will have it, but I think women are known to have it more innately, and
Mm-hmm.
and that is why their leadership is, kind of looked at as a long term. Some of the examples I gave, right? Relationship building, looking at the
Mm-hmm.
outcomes, and let's take the team along. Doesn't mean that you have to kind of have 100% buy-in. Some certain things will have to be kind of told, but explain it with the reasons and the rationale to say this is the outcome that we're looking at, and maybe the ideas that two of them suggested does not fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So you give that explanation and then you go with whatever other ideas. So I think
Hmm.
those are some of the aspects that women definitely bring in, is what I would say.
Inclusivity.
Yes, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Which is good leadership. It's just good leadership. There was a study that came out recently that it was longitudinal and yet anecdotal as well, but not data based, qualitative, which clearly showed that women, by the numbers, are better leaders than men. Now, I think that is cultural in the sense that men have the capacity to lead well, but I believe that the aggression, which part of leadership is aggressive, but the overuse of aggression, the lack of empathy, creates environments that don't include, and the best decisions are not made. And I was really encouraged, given the work that we were doing, that study came out. Didn't surprise me, but it was great, a great corroboration with what I've already experienced and so many women have experienced. Yeah.
And it also is because of the stereotypes. So there's so much of what do you call as the paternal and the maternal kind of stereotypes that
Mm-hmm.
exist. So men are not supposed to and allowed to do certain things. So you kind of are in the pressure, under the pressure to kind of comply to that so-called male way of leading. So another story that I will quickly narrate is
Mm-hmm.
when I was in Captain I,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through a situation. So I told you I had this family support, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole that support system came crumbling down, and that's when I actually
Mm.
quit after a few months from Captain.
Yeah.
So I took 3 months off because I had to look after my mother who was undergoing a surgery, and then my husband fell ill, then my father-in-law fell ill, and there was a series of things that were happening at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a role where there was a lot of travel, and I had kind of said earlier that I will not do travel. But then I realized that there's no way out. Now, this is pre-COVID. Things have changed so much, now nobody is going to say, oh, only with travel, things can be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of picked up the role because I wanted to prove that, yeah, I can do this role. It took me a lot away from Bangalore, and I used to be in Pune and things like that. The first thing that struck me when I went and joined this team, there was this January 1st and 2nd offsite that we went to, where the business unit head, his next layer of leadership, and the next layer of leadership was there, about 25 of us. So I was in the second layer of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually don't, care and bother about how many women around and stuff like that. But these days, there's so much of how many women and, all of that going around. So I looked around to see how many women were there. I was the only woman.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I also was told that this account, the client account that we were managing, has been there for more than 10 years in existence. So it's not a new account.
Mm-mm.
And I was also told that in these last 10 years, I was the first woman at that position. Now, that
Wow.
puts so much of pressure on me that I have to prove that women can do this, right? So I did whatever. I traveled and did whatever else I could. But then the things at home came to the situation where I could not. And I told them I will exit out of this because I need to Bangalore East. And the amount of guilt that I went through, because I felt after 10 plus years, if they've thought of giving a position to a woman, now this fact that, the woman went away will not, allow them to take another woman for another 10 years, maybe. So I
Yeah.
lived through guilt. And then eventually I quit the company also. After a few months, my peer, who was also in Bangalore and used to do this kind of travel, he called me and he said that he was all leaving the
Hmm.
job.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, where are you joining? And he said, I have not yet made up my mind, but I'm sure about a few things. I am not going to pick a role in a company which works US hours. I am not going to pick a role which will have this kind of mad travel, which will take me away from my 4-year-old, because I
Yeah.
want to give that time to my family.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving. And
Wow.
then I made peace with myself to say that, okay, it was not a woman thing. Even a man needs that. So I think it's the pressure, the gender pressure, the stereotypical pressure that both the woman and the man go through, because of which, things happen. And that's why it's so very important for organizations to have gender neutral policies. Instead of talking about maternity leave, can we talk about parental leave, and whichever parent can take that leave? Kind of takes allowing the other person to, be taking care of their careers and things like that. So yeah, we have a long way to go, but yeah, that's something that I thought I would share.
That's equity.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Parental leave. Yeah.
True.
And that, yeah. What a great experience to have him quit too. And what a great guy.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons. Yeah. Neeraja, what are some resources that you utilize? Books, blogs, shows. Just things that you do to buoy yourself and educate yourself as you go forward.
Yeah, sure. So some of the names that definitely come to mind. So Sheryl Sandberg's, talks and books definitely lean in. That's made a very big impact on me. When she says, don't leave before you have to leave, right? And women do that. They assume what will happen 2 years down the line, and they will not pick a role today because they think, how will they manage that role when that thing will happen, and that thing may never happen in life, right? So that's been a very powerful one for me. There is in India Apurva Purohit, who used to be the president of a huge publication here, Jagran publication. She has written 2 books. The one of them is Lady, You Are the Boss. Huge influence. The person herself and the book. So these are some of the books that I always keep referring to. And of course, when my book comes out, that will be another one.
Yeah. Where can we find, where will we be able to find your book?
It will definitely be available on Amazon.
Yep.
There will be both ebook and there will be a print version available for those who want to.
Can it be pre-ordered?
I think I should make that available, the pre-order. So I will know, what's the numbers that we are looking at, when it, and Joshua, I think through your page, we'll probably let everyone know.
Absolutely. Please. Yeah. As soon as you have that link, we'll post it. Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
And other than that, it's not that I just follow a particular, podcast series or things like that. Anything that comes my way, it can be a 2-minute talk, it could be a 1-hour conversation, and that's I recommend people to keep listening and keep reading these things. As I said, you can go and do a 2-year course in a university, masters in business administration, but what you learn from experiences of people, like on shows like this, on podcasts and video, and today we have plenty of resources like this. I think everyone should kind of hook onto something or the other, and also attend as many conferences and events that you can, because the learning is phenomenal. Again, I will tell you, for me, the transformation, the second transformation that happened to me was when I was about 24 years in my career. I was very contented. I had a good job, good home, and I kind of said, this is good enough for me. But I went and attended a conference of women on a career break. I would not go and attend that because I was not on a break. I was not contemplating a break. But because my organization had asked me to put out a recommendation to hire women on a career break. And I didn't think a big deal of it because, again, this is where the bias comes, right? Because I have never taken a break. I don't see a reason why we should make such a hype about women on a career break. That was me. But since I had to put out the recommendation, I attended this conference. And that's when I heard from these women how difficult it was for them to even get to an interview, forget the job, because people don't want to hire them. They kind of forget the entire experience that they've had till they took the career break. And even when you are on a break, there's so much of learning that you do, and it's more those skills, those life skills, which are more relevant in organizations than actually the technical skills or whatever. Anyways, at the conference, there were speakers who had come from a very diverse set of industries. Till then, because I was working in IT and banking IT, I used to go to conferences where you're pushed from the company, right? Okay, go and attend this. So it's be banking or it is IT. So you have a very close circle, and the top topics and the talks are the same. And I went here, there was such a diverse set of speakers, and it just blew me away. I said, why can't I think like that? The perspectives that they brought on board. And then I, said, okay, let me now broaden my LinkedIn circle, because till then I had kept it very close. Ones who had worked with, they are my people on, LinkedIn. So I said, I will start connecting with these speakers, the attendees, and that's how I kind of grown my LinkedIn network over the last few years to what it is now, I think 20,000 plus, and known and met people. And then it has brought about, mindset changes in me and the opportunities that it has brought out. So I will definitely encourage everyone to pick up whatever. It doesn't matter, of course, there are some recommendations that we give, but there's plenty available. Please use some time every day to kind of go through, either read, listen, watch a video. It is
interesting. Is it valuable for women to take a break?
Yeah, definitely, for the right reasons, right? But one thing I will say is, don't regret that break later. So you should be very, very clear about why, and even a man can take a break. But you be very clear about why you want to take a break. What happens is, sometimes it is voluntary. So I have a child and I want to look after the child. So I'm going to take a break for X number of years, and then I want to get back. And there are struggles when you want to get back. Then don't start regretting, because with that regret, you will never be able to kind of go back and get in the right frame of mind. You took it for a particular reason, and that was priority at that point in time. So don't regret it. So if the reasons are right, please go ahead, take the break. But 3 things: continue to network. Don't forget your networks. Keep building on it. Continue learning. You have to still give yourselves a little bit of time to learning, keeping in touch with what's happening in the industry. At least you need to be able to speak the jargon, even if you don't know the depth of it. These 2 for sure, even when you are on a break: network and continue to learn. This is very, very important. These 2 are there forever in life. And the earlier you start, I always say, right, you cannot dig a well when you're thirsty. So you kind of start digging it now if you're not already done. And you will see it will give you the water when you are thirsty.
How do you care for yourself? What do you do to de-stress and keep yourself healthy?
So I definitely try to take some time off from the work. But Joshua, because today I do so many different kinds of things, when somebody asks me how do you kind of wind down, I will just move from one to the other, because that kind of is also a good way to break away from the monotony or the pressure. But a doctor had told me that I must dedicate some me time for myself. 20 years ago, I was told, because I used to be someone who thought that wasting even 1 minute, I called it waste. If you're not doing something, which means you're just sitting and maybe watching a show or something, it's a waste of time. And then I was kind of told and realized that it is so important to have that me time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, to re-energize yourselves at whatever point in time during the day, and do what you really, like to do. So I definitely catch some series, on the TV every day over the weekend, because the kind of work that we do, there are no weekends. You can do it anytime. There will be talks and conferences and, writing that you can do over the weekend also. I want to ensure that it looks like a weekend. I'll pick up a movie or something like that. Now you can't really go out with COVID. So, I put a slot and I ensure that, I do that. Of course, there's also, recently I have started, focusing on health from a exercise and meditation aspect, because the COVID that hit us as a family was really traumatic. And I think while I didn't have COVID, the others had, and that kind of gave me a lot of stress. And just to ensure that I calm myself down, I do some yoga and pranayama and some meditation. But I'm very new in that space, but it is important. Pick up a practice which you can anchor onto. This is my realization after what I went through with my family COVID, right? As I think I said, I've been the only child, and I built emotional resilience in myself. So people say, you're a strong woman. Now, it's not a great thing to be a strong woman, because you kind of putting all the pressure on yourself.
Yes.
And over a period of time, you will realize you need another anchor. It's not a person, but something else. And I was not spiritually inclined, not religious, no, yoga, pranayama, or meditation, or any practice. And then I realized I needed that anchor. So, I've kind of started. So definitely build that into your daily practice, whatever works for you. I'm not suggesting this or that, but what works for you. It could be journaling. People say that works, kind of writing affirmations, whatever it be, but do spend some time on that.
I resonate with the yoga for sure, and the meditation. I did that for years. Phenomenal. Yeah, so helpful. I need to get back to it. Absolutely. Yeah. Neeraja, what are you most hopeful for with regard to women in influence and leadership? What inspires you?
I think what inspires me is the fact that there are so many people like you, so many platforms that are today available, who have realized the need to kind of, take this, I don't want to call it an issue, but this matter, by the horns and, talk about it. And hence they are building so many resources. So when I look around, for example, the platform that I'm associated with so many, one of them is called Aspire for Her, which started as a platform for girls in the age group of 18 to 25. And now they're building communities for women entrepreneurs, for women on a career break, women in banking technologies, and it goes on. And we didn't have all of this when we were growing up. We just figured things out ourselves. The concept of mentors was, unknown. But today, you can ask and reach out. The number of people who reach out to me and say, I would like some guidance, I would like some mentoring, and I can just point them out to resources, platforms like this. That really gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
But it is for everyone to make use of it. That's the other thing which I would definitely stress on.
Take advantage of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Neeraja, this has been a treat. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
It goes by so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's been an hour and we've been chatting away. Your son didn't like it. I think he went away.
Waving things. He was playing. It was okay. Yeah, he gets up super early. I thought he might have. Yeah. Well, great. Well, Neeraja, stay on and we'll chat just briefly afterward. And thank you so much for taking the time. And of course, if you are connected with Neeraja, share this and invite your connections, because this video will be available on YouTube to view after we're done with the broadcast. And then we will put out some clips in the next couple of weeks, inviting people to come back to that. And then, of course, we will do the audio on our podcast. We'll pull the audio off of this interview. So thank you, everyone. And Neeraja, thank you. And we'll chat for just a minute afterward.
Sure. My pleasure to be on this platform. And thank you, all the viewers who are watching and will watch later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me pull this off here. Oh, gosh. I'm inspired and encouraged. She does such phenomenal work, and she's so joyful about her perspective and hopeful and moving forward. Pretty cool. So, of course, we have another live stream coming up next Monday, and Janine will be back on that. So, yay, that'll be great. I can do these things alone too, but it's so much better when I've got her. And we have a podcast dropping on Thursday, and we will announce that, I think, tomorrow, who will be coming out, and that will be of a past guest pulled off of the live stream. And we encourage you to share follow our page, connect with us if you have questions or comments. I love all the comments that have been coming in. We didn't get a chance to talk to them, but just so gracious and encouraging. That really helps us. And so follow our page and share the posts and invite your connections to follow it as well. So I'm Joshua Everett Mayer from Taking Her Lead, and this was a privilege. We will see you very soon.